Okay, everyone, good morning. We've reached Friday, the final morning briefing of the week, and we're back together, the three of us, to discuss Celtic. We've got a game tomorrow, guys. This is what it's going to be like for the next few months, just game after game, and we love it. It's lovely to have you all with us. Apologies, we're maybe a couple of minutes late today. Lovely to see you all in the comments. Listen, it's a busy time for us at the moment, but we do have a fabulous offer on the go that I really want to tell you about today. Mentioned it yesterday. It's still available, but not for much longer. Black Friday today, isn't it, by the way? Yeah.
Black Friday today,
So that links in nicely. You can get 1 year of the Celtic Way for only £12, which I think is pretty amazing value for the work the guys do. You're obviously, all of you watching the channel are a big part of what we do, especially if you're subscribed to the channel. But subscribing to this deal, to the website, really allows the guys to go and make this kind of thing possible and make the channel possible. So £12 for a year, it really is a ridiculous deal. And if that's not enough, there's a nice print there, isn't there? Made by Frankie, Brendan Rodgers, that you'll get absolutely free of charge as part of that deal. I'm trying to get a better close-up image actually of it. That's it there on screen. So it's a bit of a cracker. I'd say that's worth the £12 on its own, to be honest. The Kyogo one was very popular, but on top of all of that, you'll get access to the Celtic Way for an entire year. Anything to add, guys?
Yeah, it's so important. Subscribers are so important to what we do as a whole. They are the lifeblood of the Celtic Way, and without subscribers, we cannot continue to do it both on the website and through the YouTube. One cannot exist without the other. So if we can get as many subscribers as we can over the next few days with this latest deal, then we would be completely thankful and absolutely grateful with everybody that joins us. Subscribers are necessary. As much as we're doing well on the YouTube scene, we need to get the subscribers up on the website. And if you do that, if you pledge your £12, you'll get the Made by Frankie print. We had people last time saying that the Kyogo print was worth more than what was actually, so it is a high quality print that's coming to you from Made by Frankie. You'll see it all over the social medias over the next couple of days or so. We're trying to get as many people as possible for this deal. And yeah, thank you to everybody that's done so far. We'll continue to plug it until I believe it ends on Tuesday night. So you've only got until Tuesday night to get involved and get this Frankie deal, or the Frankie print rather. This is the only way that you can get this. It's not coming out any other way. It's a complete exclusive. So these next couple of days that's the only chance you're going to get this exclusive print. Brendan Rodgers, the manager, he's back. He's winning trophies. Why not celebrate that with a print? Thank you to everybody that's subscribed so far. Tony, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, say thank you to everybody that's taken up the offer. And I'm going to go all Jock Stein here. The Celtic Way without subscriptions is nothing, isn't it? That's the way we have to look at it, Say football without fans is nothing. That's the way we operate. The subscriptions are so important to what we do. We've never ever had that. We've always been straight up and down the line about that. And we thank everybody who has subscribed to this channel. We hope you enjoy the content. We put a lot of effort into it. And this is our way of paying you back as well with that print made by Frankie. It's an excellent print. It's a brilliant piece of artwork. And I think, Hamish, you said it's worth the money for the deal itself. But yeah, £12 for 12 months we think's a fairly decent deal. And thank you to everybody. And I'm really impressed with the artwork. I would like to own one of them myself. But hey, let everybody who takes up the offer of the subscription get first dibs in that. But yeah, guys, we continue to do this, but it's subscriptions that help us continue to do what we do and produce the quality that we think on a daily basis. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. And as long as you subscribe, we'll continue to be here. That's the way we do. The best way to describe it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit Brendan Rodgers there at the end, but I don't mind it, Tony. Jezza has signed up yesterday, so a big thanks to Jezza, and loads of folks signed up yesterday, great numbers, so you can get involved. I think you two are doing yourselves down a wee bit. I think the print's amazing, but getting the access to all of the work that you guys do, the interviews, the analysis pieces, not just you two, but the whole team at the Celtic Way. An entire year, everyone, for £12. Incredible value. Okay, I'll get this off screen. How are you feeling? How are you feeling ahead of the weekend? Are you still thinking about Club Brugge? Have you still got things on your minds?
No, do you know, to be honest, I thought about it a lot yesterday, and now it's full steams ahead to Ross County on Saturday afternoon. It's a chance to really put that scoreboard pressure, as we've spoke about, into full power. Really, you've got Aberdeen and Rangers playing tomorrow or on Sunday rather. So the chance
Who cares about
of
them?
Celtic.
Who cares?
Yeah, I know. Absolutely, that is. But listen, there are rivals at this moment in time, as far back as they are at the moment, and yeah, Aberdeen at least at the moment are Celtic's rivals, and they dropped points on Tuesday. So it's a chance to go even further in front of them and put the pressure on, because I think it'll be a difficult game for them. At Hearts, Hearts are a better team than what the league table suggests. So I think that's going to be a difficult game for them, even though Hearts are just coming off the back of a European defeat to Cercle Brugge or Cercle Brugge. I'm going between the two names. I've had a bit of stick from people saying it's not Bruges, it's Brugge. I've looked it up online. It is Brugge. I got it double checked, but
apparently the city is Bruges, but the team are Brugge because they're from the Flemish. Is it Flemish? Is that the speaking part of Belgium? I'm sure Martin Tyler explained that in my commentary on Wednesday night. So anyway, don't need to worry about it.
That'll do for me. That'll do for me as long as I'm right.
Bruges to me. I'm old money. Still Bruges to me. I'm pre-1971 and decimalisation and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, do you know what? I've got the other night out my system per se, because I don't think it was necessarily a poor result. As I said in the after-match briefing, the Celtic teams of the last 15 years in Europe would have lost that, and you'd have felt a lot worse about yourself. It's still in Celtic's hands. And I think the great point that was made by both the manager and Callum McGregor, who spoke, was, see, if you can't win these games, don't lose them. And that's what happened the other night. And Celtic weren't at their best. We saw that. They didn't hit the heights of RB Leipzig. And we saw what happens when they don't produce that level of performance. But having said that, they could still have won it. So I was kind of buoyed by that. I just love having your top 24 destiny in your own hands, and it's there for Celtic. So now it's on to domestic matters, and you just feel that there'll be a wee bit of rotation tomorrow, and there'll be a freshening up of certain players, and I'm looking forward to seeing, personally, in my opinion, some of those certain players getting a run out. So yeah, the chance to go 14 ahead of both, of Rangers and go ahead of Aberdeen as well.
5.
Sorry, yeah. Is you've got to take that every time that opportunity presents itself, and you've got every confidence in this team to do that. So yeah, bring on the weekend. As you say, the games are coming thick and fast, but it's the way we love it. It keeps us busy and it keeps us, keeps us sharp, I think.
Yeah. Listen, we'll return to the Ross County game. I'm expecting changes, so we can discuss a few things there. I did see a tweet earlier on from that account, Football Meets Data, that have been coming. They've been getting kind of pretty prevalent. They basically look at the kind of European statistics, and they've given us like a 94% chance of making the top 24. I saw they'd put out one earlier today saying the most likely matchups in the round of 16. And I thought it was interesting that the two teams that they have as the most likely matchups for Celtic at this stage, and obviously there's a long way to go, are PSV Eindhoven and Benfica, who are obviously very good teams, but I thought it was interesting looking at that, thinking if we do get through to the whatever they're calling it, the knockout round or the round of 24 or whatever it is, there may be an option for us to have a tie where we can, certainly compete in and do well. I think the chances of like getting PSV, for example, was like 5%. So very kind of unlikely. It's probably going to be another team, but it was the most likely scenario. So I just found that interesting. I agree, Tony. It's all in our hands. I think we're going to be absolutely fine. I think Zagreb away will be a really tough game. I think it will probably come down to whether we can beat Young Boys at Celtic Park, and take nothing for granted. But I think you fancy that one with a full Celtic Park behind us. So 8 points from our first 5 games. We're in a good position. There was a night last night, Henrik Larsson's event. Helen, I think, was there. Assuming she was there, saying that it was brilliant, very funny, especially Martin O'Neill and Chris Sutton. They were all there, weren't they? I mean, I saw Johan Mjalby was there. As you say, Martin O'Neill, Chris Sutton. You heard much about this, guys?
I've only seen pictures of the event, but from what I've seen, it looked like it was a packed house last night, which was brilliant to see. It's good to get for these players to get the recognition that they deserve, because there's so many players that maybe won't get that in other teams around the world. But they're so frequently back at Celtic, and they feel that love from the supporters. These guys are heroes at the end of the day, from Johan Mjalby at the back to Chris Sutton and Henrik Larsson, of course, at the front, and then managed by Martin O'Neill too. These heroes know that they're heroes in the eyes of the Celtic support, and it's always good for them to give back a wee bit as well and spend some time. I believe, was that for the foundation as well? Was the proceeds going to the Celtic FC Foundation? So it was a great night all in terms of getting some money at a challenging time of the year for these organisations. So to get that in, to get a full house, and for some of the people that I've seen some pictures of people meeting Henrik Larsson, not jealous at all, not jealous whatsoever. I have met him once, I just can't remember it because I was a wee boy at the time. But that would have been a great moment for those people that got to meet those people after the show had finished. So yeah, seems like it was a good night. Tony, you'll know about these players a little bit better than I do, since you were covering Celtic at that point. But I know definitely that they're all legends and greats of the club, and it's great to see them coming back.
The very mention of Henrik Larsson and Martin O'Neill and Johan Mjalby just warmed your heart, because they just have they've carved an indelible mark in the hearts and minds of every Celtic supporter, past and present, because you guys will have grown up learning of the daring doing, the deeds of these guys, if you can't remember what they actually did. But it's like me growing up with the deeds of the teams from the 60s and the 70s, and then into the 80s, late 70s, starting to watch Celtic from Kenny Dalglish onwards, stuff like that. So, and you run out of superlatives to describe this wonderful kind of period in Celtic's history when Henrik Larsson was there. The 242 goals in 315 games in 7 seasons. Martin O'Neill's 5 seasons at the club. You talk about European records. Celtic Park was formidable back then. You just need to look at the illustrious list of opponents that came in life with nothing. And that team, Henrik Larsson, as much as there was, every player in that team was brilliant. They were great, but Henrik Larsson lifted them to real heights. And I've never watched the UEFA Cup final back, but if there's a man that didn't deserve the fate that he got that night, it was Henrik Larsson. He was superhuman, so much to the point where I stood there in Seville watching it thinking, he's going to get a hat-trick, we're going to win. Even when Bobo got sent off, even when he went to extra time, I was still convinced he was going to get a hat-trick. And all he needed that night was a few others to be at the same level as him. He was just joyous to watch. And when he got his hands on the European Cup, every Celtic supporter probably cried. And because he deserved that from his club career. And I just wish he'd won the UEFA Cup, because he would have a set of gold medals from both European tournaments at the time. He's revered, absolutely revered. And he is the only foreign player to be in the best 11 Celtic team ever. That tells you a lot. It tells you everything. And he says it himself, he's always humbled by the reception he gets. He shouldn't be, because as I say, he has 7 years at the club. There is no player going to spend 7 years at the club. And in between time, and he broke his leg 1 year as well, and Celtic helped him back, and he was always grateful for that. And he was just the consummate professional, and he was a wonderful footballer. Didn't do much media, to be fair to him. I'd only spoke to him a couple of times, and he was very, very one-linerish and very, he was very non-committal, but it didn't matter. He did his talking on the park, and, and that reception that he gets, he must just, it warms his heart as well, because it's just, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he's just one of those players that brought unbridled joy to every Celtic supporter. And even you guys, if you watch DVDs and you watch stuff and you look at him, you just think, this guy was just superhuman, and he was wonderful, and he was great to watch. And For 5 years, the Celtic supporters watched. For 7 years, the Celtic supporters
7.
watched that every week. 5 years of the Martin O'Neill era, when they really were formidable. It was astounding. It was just brilliant. It was great. It was great times.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was great times last night for everyone that was in attendance. I'm sure Henrik Larsson would have been nominated for. I feel like he was nominated for a global award when he was at Celtic.
He was. Yeah.
It certainly rings a bell. Good link. Well done, Hamish, because a current player has been nominated as well. A couple of figures from Celtic. First of all, this is the FIFA The Best Awards, which is like FIFA's Ballon d'Or thing, Ryan, is that right? Oh, you're muted, but I'm going to take it from your nodding of your head that
Yes,
that is
yes,
right.
that's true. Sorry, I muted myself there. I think it's FIFA's version of the Ballon d'Or, even though I know that FIFA now get a more hands-on approach to the Ballon d'Or. I think they've. I read something recently that says that they're more in tune with the Ballon d'Or now, so they're kind of making this award take a bit of a backseat.
Okay, well, Best Defender award nominees have been announced. I think you've got 22 players nominated here. You get like Saliba and Gabriel and Rudiger and Diaz and Davies and Akanji, Carvajal, and Frimpong's in there as well, I've just noticed. But it's a current Celtic right back who is also amongst all of these elite players. Alistair Johnston has been nominated for Defender of the Year 2024 worldwide. He's not going to win it, I wouldn't think, but that's a hell of an achievement from him, I would say.
He deserves to be there, Hamish. He was in the best 11 at the Copa America. And he kept esteemed in elite company there. He's keeping esteemed in elite company in this list as well. He is one of the best at what he does. Just because he plays in the Scottish League doesn't make him any less of a footballer. And he's playing for a Canadian national side who are making real waves. This golden generation of Canadian players. So he is being propelled to a wide audience, both playing at club and international level. So, I think Alistair Johnston deserves to be there. We may be biased, but we think the world of him. But he's Mr. Consistency, isn't he? And as Ryan said, he's formed an unbelievable partnership with Kuhn. And you just like what Alistair... But you've loved what Alistair Johnston's produced since Ibrox, since he made his debut. And he has just got better and better and better. And so much so that everybody is tipping him to be the next Celtic captain and waiting once Callum McGregor finally hangs up his boots and passes the baton on. What a compliment that is to him. If he stays, he's just signed a new deal. And if he stays that long, then that eventuality will happen. So, Alistair Johnston's in the best place he's ever been in his career. And he deserves, to quote young Ryan, he deserves these flowers and these plaudits because he has been an absolute role model and top professional, and consistency is the word. He is Alistair Johnston ... 8. He's on 9. He's slowly taken over that. Remember, it used to be Cameron Carter-Vickers 8. Yeah, he is filling that duty and obligation right now with Celtic because he very rarely has a poor game.
Yeah, great news. Ryan, also, you can comment on Johnston if you want. I also see that in more brilliant Celtic news, women's head coach Elena Sadiku nominated for FIFA Women's Coach of the Year award. It's obviously been an incredible year for the women's team, from winning the league for the first time to qualifying for the UEFA Champions League. We've obviously not got the results in that competition, but we've competed quite well. So Elena Sadiku up for an award at this FIFA worldwide awards ceremony.
Any recognition is good from these awards, and it's more good news for Celtic. There seems to be only good news happening at the club at the moment, and I think that shows how good a place that the club is in, both the men's and women's team. So yeah, congratulations to Elena Sadiku. I think she's done a really good job continuing on what Fran Alonso did for the women's team and keeping that interest there, because Fran Alonso was very front-facing. He had that relationship with the fans. Maybe Elena Sadiku doesn't have that same one, but the quality is still there. Look at the fact that she won the league, coming in halfway through the season, while Fran Alonso left to join, I think it was Houston Astros. Actually, I think he's got another job coming as well. I'm not sure exactly. I read that just quickly the other day, but I seen that he was linked somewhere else. So he's making waves in the game as well. Just on Johnson, I don't think he's the only Canadian player in there. I think Alphonso Davies is also there, so they've got both. Although I would caveat that by saying that Alphonso Davies doesn't really play defence that much for Canada. He's used as an attacker as well, just as much as a defender, although he is a defender for Bayern Munich, of course, getting linked with Real Madrid next summer already. We'll see where he ends up. That'd be a good move for him. I think regardless of where he goes, I think he'll be a standout. So having that esteemed company, you named them there, Gabriel, Saliba, Akanji, and then you've got Rudiger, who I think is the best defender in the world at the moment. Having Alistair Johnston in there is credit to Celtic, and credit for them shopping in maybe perhaps an unusual place such as the MLS. It's not really been a place that Celtic have bought players in recent times, but they seen that the player was there. A player was making waves at CF Montreal, and he's came in. He's been forged in such an intimidating place as Ibrox, making his debut, and he could have sank, but he didn't. He swam at Ibrox, and he was absolutely tremendous. And I think he's just kicked on from there. Brendan Rodgers is getting the best out of him, and I think there's more to come from him. People in the comments were saying it wasn't his best night the other night. I agree, in the first half at least, but I thought when he started getting on the ball in the second half and making those overlapping runs, you seen Kuna he's most effective. I was doing the data report yesterday, and Kuna actually had the most key passes out of any Celtic player. I think that was all in the second half once Johnston started making that run and took a man away from him, because for large parts of the first half there was two men on Kuna at all times. Brugge had done their homework, double team him and stop him from running at the defence. Once he was 1-on-1, he was getting some joy. It was just unfortunate that he ran out of legs towards the end of the match. I think another 5-10 minutes, if he had it in the tank, he would have scored or got an assist, because he was causing problems. But yeah, delighted for Johnson, delighted for Elena Sadiku. This is good news for the club, and it keeps that feel-good factor going.
Yeah, definitely positive news. Listen, there's a few other things I want to discuss, so I'm going to move it on. Just stuff I've actually just seen here. I saw that the B team, if that's what they're called at UEFA level, but they've qualified for the knockout stages of the UEFA Youth League. They beat Club Brugge the other day, so that's fabulous news. I think good for them. There'd been a report about Alex Valle last night. I've seen the kind of papers here have gone quite big in it. I actually looked it up earlier, found the original Spanish report, and I didn't think there was anything definitive said in it about like Barcelona wanting to not recall Alex Valle. Like, I think that's going to be the case anyway. He signed a season-long loan deal. I know there's been a bit of chat about him getting recalled, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I think Valle is going to play for us for the whole season, and then we'll see in the summer. But I saw that. It seemed more to me like it was a bit of an update in the Spanish media on how he's been getting on rather than anything definitive. The other thing I'm just seeing, apparently, I think there's been a report from Stephen McGowan saying that the two positions that we're going to look at in January are a left-sided wide man and a young third striker to provide backup for Kyogo and Ida. That's not a huge surprise, Tony, is it? If that's the case, a left winger and a third striker, it's kind of what I think most fans would look at and say we need.
Yeah. You would also make future plans for a left back as well. If Valle leaves at the end of the season and Greg Taylor doesn't sign the deal, so I'm sure there's forward planning on that as well. But yeah, we were talking about the other day, weren't we? I think you raised it, Ryan, that we would be looking for a left winger. Balakusha was the one you mentioned, wasn't it? That you might go back in for him if he proves his fitness, and it's certainly something that hasn't gone away. It's kind of rumbling away in the background there, isn't it? So, yeah, I'd be in agreement with that. I think that's, you see, that doesn't come as any surprise to you, does it? Yeah.
But it's reassuring, though, isn't it? It's reassuring that they're looking at that.
Do you know that's you're seeing that too. That's the kind of areas that you would want strengthened. So we're all kind of on the same page on that one. I hate that phrase, singing from the same hymn sheet, but I guess it fits here, doesn't it? But yeah, I think that's the areas of pressing. I won't say pressing concern, but that's the areas of concern that you would want those gaps plugged and filled. So happy enough with that. Yeah, definitely.
Wazzaboy bringing up Johnny Kenny actually earlier in the show. Scored again last night, apparently. I'm assuming that would have been in Europe.
Rapid Vienna.
Rapid Vienna, wow. Could be the third striker option in January. He's clearly doing well. I'm not sure that Johnny Kenny is going to be the third striker. He's clearly a decent enough player, but I'm just not convinced that he's going to be at the level we require. Because I think you'd be wanting a third striker, as it says in the report, someone young who you can mould to be the next player. Because the reality is, Kyogo's not going to be at Celtic forever. We obviously love him. He's not leaving imminently, but after this season, has he maybe got a couple more years max, and then he'll probably want to try another, maybe Spain or whatever. So you need to be looking for that option, and maybe getting a young third striker in who can then grow to be a star for us is a good way to go. Yeah,
if they want to kill two birds with one stone, they could bring in a guy that can play at left wing and up front. Matthias Kvistgaarden can play at left wing and up front. He has been tearing it up for Brøndby this season in the Danish league. He's been a player that Celtic have been looking at for a number of years now. I think that's at least 1.5 years, if not 2 years, that they've been looking at him. He's had that breakout season that I think we were expecting him to have. He was in and out injury last season for Brøndby. But, he's a young player. He's 21, 22, round about that ballpark, between 20 and 23. I'm not sure exactly what age he is. I need to double check that. But I think the long-term planning needs to be brought into play here as well. And I agree with you, Hamish, that Kyogo won't be here forever. Admida is a long-term development player. It seems a bit silly saying that, considering Celtic paid 8.5. Then again, they've got another development player, Arne Engels, that they spent 11 million on. So, these players are going to be constantly developing in the background. If Celtic could get a deal done with Brøndby, he's shown that he can get goals and assists both out on the left-hand side and through the middle for Brøndby, then I think that would be a great move. And it would future-proof your team. It would really help having this player in that's ready to go and provide that competition.
Is he too good to be a third choice? I know you're saying he can play left wing as well.
That's the thing. He can play either or, so he would get game time. I know Maeda's kind of got that left wing position, tied down basically, but bring in somebody else and push him to the limits. Let's see what he can do. I think he's a little bit too comfortable out on the left-hand side because Palma just isn't. He isn't fighting for that position whatsoever. He's struggling to get in the team some weeks in terms of the bench. So he's not providing any competition. Maeda needs that extra pushing as much as he's doing really well this season. He's well on course to get the most goals in a Celtic season, and we're only in the end of November, start of December. He's near enough one of the top goal scorers alongside Nicholas Kuhn. So there's goals coming from the wings. Why not further supplement these roles and bring in somebody else that can score from the left wing? The only thing is, I think it would have been Balikwisha in the summer, but that injury has been quite a sore one for him, literally and figuratively, because he's been out for months and he's had no game time to sort of push on and really cement himself, both as a Celtic target and as a mainstay in the Antwerp team. Last time I checked, he'd only played one game this season for Antwerp, so there would be a risk involved in that if you were bringing him in January, because he's not played that much, and then you're bringing him in, suddenly he needs to learn about his new teammates as well. For me, if I could choose one player, it would be Kvistgaarden. I remember Stuart Ross did a piece on him about a year ago. He sounded exactly like what we would want from a Celtic winger / striker. He can play that sort of hybrid role, gets goals, gets assists, he's creative, and he could be the long-term Kyogo successor. So they might need to spend a bit more for him now after he's having his really good season for Brøndby at the moment, but I think he could be worth it in the long run. He's proven it now for a few seasons, and I'd like to see him brought in. That's just me.
If we're bringing in Kvistgaarden, I don't think he's coming in to be third choice. So that's my thinking behind that. He's coming into play, so would Celtic shell out that money on Kvistgaarden now? Or because I think if he does continue to tear it up, then he'll go for more further down the line. So you've got to make that decision now. But if you're looking for a third striker, Kvistgaarden isn't that man. But if you're looking for somebody to come in and hit the ground running and, you know, challenge right away, then Kvistgaarden is. It just depends on your thinking behind that, you know. But I think if they're signing Kvistgaarden or go back in and, you know, show more interest, he ain't going to be a third choice. He's coming into play just off the back of what he's been doing already in Sweden. So that's the decision that Celtic have to make in January in terms of the so-called third choice striker.
And you want two good players in every position, don't you? And I think left wing would be one of the positions that we don't have two good players, in my opinion. I think it's the only position we don't have two good players, to be honest, or two reliable players anyway.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then you would have to think that guys like Palmer would be moved on, or
he's going to be moved on in January.
Transferred, you know. So
I think Holm,
you know, you just
Palmer, Narovsky,
those thoughts, isn't it? And thinking, and I think the manager is now starting to say, right, I want to take Celtic further. There's certain people, you know, you have to be ruthless, and as much as anything else, Brendan Rodgers will be and can be ruthless. And I think he's going to trim that squad and just say, right, we're going with a hard and fast X amount of players. This is what I need to take me where I want to go. And certain players will be culled in that. And as he said, that you don't pick anybody on sentiment or things that they've done in the past. You pick them on the fact that you think they can do a job for your club moving forward. And I think it's constantly evolving. He's always talking about that. So I think we're all happy about the way things are going, both on and off the park. And when you read reports like this and you hear things like that, you're saying, right, good, that's exactly what you want. I think one of the commenters there, as you said, Big Dominant bottom there, quality over quantity, and I think that's what the manager's certainly going to stress to the Celtic hierarchy now. That's the kind of player that you're wanting, and it's quality. You know,
I think we saw that in the summer, didn't we? We saw quality coming in.
And, you know, and to go back to Arne Engels, we know Arne Engels is a quality footballer.
Mm-hmm.
Just having a tough time of it at the minute, and that's no slight on his ability. We've all seen that the guy's got ability, but people hit dips. I don't think any Celtic supporter can say that the guy hasn't hit a dip. But he's young and he will become a fantastic player for Celtic. There's enough evidence to show that. But you're also, it's what your eyes are telling you in terms of his recent displays. You can't dress that up. He's been poor, right? But that doesn't mean he's a poor footballer. We've seen those genuine bits of quality that you think, do you know what? You have got it in your locker. And I think it's just a frustration with the Celtic supporters. But I've no qualms about Arne Engels coming good for Celtic. None at all. Because I know the manager will improve him.
Yeah.
Big time. So I think it's just a temporary dip, loss of form. Call it what you like.
Conspiracy theory from Mark here. We always love that. Do you think Greg Taylor knows something we don't, and that's why he won't sign a new deal, i.e. KT coming back possibly? I love the idea of something like that happening, and Greg Taylor hearing something.
For me, if Kieran Tierney was to come back, I would still make it a priority that Alex Bailly comes in permanently too. There is no better person for Bailly to learn from than Kieran Tierney. But
that'd be a good setup. Or even Tierney and Taylor would be a good mix as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm pretty much resigned to the fact now that Greg Taylor will leave the club in the summer, because I think he would have signed a deal by now. I think he's having a look and seeing what's to come in his career, probably looking down south, maybe a Premier League team, maybe a high-end Championship team. There is definitely that avenue for him. But I think if you were to get, if Tierney was to come back, you've got to bring in somebody that's going to be available for most games, because Kieran Tierney inevitably won't be. He picks up injuries all the time. Look at the track record. Look at his injury percentages. They're really high over the past couple of seasons. He picks up injuries very easily. Do I think Celtic have a small part to play in that? Yes, for pushing him early on in his career, playing through the pain barrier, taking injections before games. That's definitely going to have a knock-on effect later on in his career in terms of the picking up of injuries. But having Bailly in there now, he's the player that Celtic have had quite a few left backs since Tierney left the club. Some better than others, you would say, in terms of ball and goalie. Moritz Bauer.
He was a right back.
Was he a right back? He's not even a left back. There you go. Greg Taylor's been good. Greg Taylor's been the best of the rest. Lax out as well. Good point. Johnny Kenny was here. Not Johnny Kenny. John Joe Kenny was here. You're right back.
You're doing well here.
That's a great point. What I'm meaning is that Bailly is the one that reminds me of Kieran Tierney the most out of any that have came to the club, both in terms of the way that he plays, the way that he runs, his positioning on the pitch, getting on the overlap, that instant impact that he had coming on a minute after coming on as a sub was like what Kieran Tierney used to do for Celtic, running down that byline and getting a pass into Daizen Maeda, which, you know, imagine Kieran Tierney and Daizen Maeda in the same team. That left side looks much stronger when you say it like that. And then you've got Bailly in there too. I just think that Taylor is going to go in the summer. I think if he was going to get a new deal, he would have signed one by now. Well, if he was going to sign a new deal, then he would have signed it by now. Yeah. In fact, you're so close to, we're getting to December. It's January. Then the month after that, he can, theoretically speak to other teams. I know Rodgers has said that he'll be a consummate professional regardless of the way that his contract's going. But I think he will be leaving in the summer, and I think Celtic have got to be aware of that, and they've got to do their business off the back of that as well.
I'm as sentimental as they come, Hamish, but KT, I'm not sure. I think his injury track record speaks for itself. I think you have to start going all in and vie and just ask those questions, see where his head's at, see what Barcelona said, see if you can get a deal. Because this boy is looking like a player every time you see him. That impact the other night was just brilliant for me, and I think you have to put those wheels in motion. If there's a chance of a deal, you've got to explore every avenue for that. KT, for me, is a high risk involved. That's all.
Yeah. Right, I just want to talk about Ross County because I realise I've put Ross County preview chat in the title and we've not even mentioned it, and we've only got a few minutes left. So I think changes tomorrow. I've got 5 down. So in my team, I've got Scales in for Carter Vickers. I've got Vi in for Taylor. I've got Bernard. I was near said Bernabe there because he's on my mind. Because someone,
backs. You know more left backs in the comment.
Someone else put that in. Bernardo in for Bernardo in midfield, and McCowan as well. I want to see McCowan, Bernardo, McGregor as a midfield, and Ida in for Kyogo. So 5 changes for me tomorrow. I know that might be a lot, but I think it's a good time to do it ahead of Pittodrie and obviously after midweek. And I think that team would be good to watch. I don't think you necessarily weaken the team when you put Bernardo in and McCowan in and Ida in.
Hamish, you're reading my thought bubble. I'll say no more.
You've just this predicted lineup, probably.
Well, I genuinely think there might be something in that. I think Vi will start. I'm very confident Vi will start. Bernardo will start the game. I'm sure of that. Ida will come in. You just know Ida's going to come in for tomorrow. Scales, potentially Carter Vickers will continue, but I just think Carter Vickers 3 games in a week. It might be a good one to get Scales back in. McCowan, I could see McCowan being on the bench, to be honest, but I would start him tomorrow. I think he'd be fine tomorrow.
The only thing I would say against McCowan is that he's not played a game of football in any capacity in about 3 weeks. I know he'll be training day in, day out, week in, week out, but he's not played any games. He's hardly been getting off the bench. Never mind starting games, and he's not been called up internationally as well at this point. But I think tomorrow could be a good game for him, but I think that Hatate will stay in the team. I think it will be Bernardo, Hatate and McGregor in that midfield. I think that Arne Engels will be taken out the firing line tomorrow, and he'll be replaced by Paulo Bernardo. And not before time, in my opinion, because I think Bernardo's deserved to start more games than what he's got at the moment. It's easier when he's coming onto the pitch and providing that spark and showing what maybe Engels doesn't have at the moment. You've got to also remember that Bernardo is only a year older than Engels too. So he's still a young player, but he's going about it the right way. I'd like to see him start tomorrow and really put in a good performance. I'm a big fan of Paulo Bernardo. Everybody knows this. I like the dig that he gives, but he's also got that bit of quality about him as well. I just wish he'd scored that chance on Wednesday. That's the second time that's happened this season. The first one was against Rangers. That would have been one of the all-time Glasgow Derby performances if you put that in the back of the net. he can always save his goals for Ibrox, I'm sure.
I think the very reason that you've mentioned about McCowan is the very reason he should be in the team, Ryan. He'll be champing at the bit. And I think you just unleash him again, because I love what McCowan brings in. I think the manager will be mindful of that. He said he's going to use every player in this ultra marathon, so I've got a feeling that Bernardo and McCowan will both start tomorrow.
There's a few shouts for Yang, Tony, and James Forrest.
You know, James Forrest.
You need to be wary you're not changing 11 players, though.
That's the thing. He made a lot of changes against Falkirk and said he would never do that again. But I think 5's the optimum in terms of changes to your team. Any more than that, then but I think the players that you've mentioned, they're coming in it, and without giving too much away, that we're probably spot on as to what the team that I would play. I've got to be honest, you know what I mean? So it's just your permutation in the midfield, whatever way you want. But my midfield, certainly Bernardo, McCowan and McGregor tomorrow. I think they are, because I think one of the commenters mentioned there is just they're going up, but McCowan can't play in the cup final and stuff. He has to get games to keep him ticking over, Ryan. You know what I mean? And he's a fit lad anyway. He's a professional footballer, but I think you have to let the reins off him tomorrow.
Has he started the game yet?
Do his thing.
Started against Motherwell. He scored.
Yeah.
Scored.
Dundee as well, I think.
So
2 games he started.
He's been pretty effective when he started, so I don't think you're negating any kind of attacking impetus or as you say, weakening the team in any shape or form. So, and you have to do it in these games. These are the games when you can afford that, because you've got the luxury of having a big squad.
Ross County 8th in the league. They gave us a tough game up in Dingwall. That was after Dortmund, wasn't it? So a reminder of they can be a tricky team to play, especially after European games. So we need to be at it tomorrow, but I think the team will be all right.
Yeah, plenty of. I think there'll still be quite a bit of confidence if they make any changes, and those players will be chomping at the bit to make an impact ahead of Wednesday's game against Aberdeen. Just got to do the job. 3 points, fingers crossed, it's a good performance as well, and then put that pressure on Aberdeen and Rangers, who both play on the Sunday. It's a home game. You expect Celtic to go out and win with a bit of style as well. I'd like to see Adamida get on the score sheet again. I agree with the two of you. I want to see him start the game, especially against a more physical opponent in Ross County. They've always got that physical battle in terms of the centre backs. I was actually really impressed with what Ida brought to the game the other night. His first touch instantly, you can tell a lot with a player, and I think Ida's going to be one of these players as well. And I categorised Samaras as the same. If he gets a good first touch in a game, then you know what sort of performance. He needs to remember that he's a nuisance. He can be a nuisance to defenders. I think he's a confidence player. If he gets that first touch, I mean, the first touch was good. He was trying to go around the player as well. I think he did quite well, and he got the foul. I think instantly came on and then got the other guy on a booking. So he made an immediate impact, and I'd like to see that tomorrow from him. A big open pitch, plenty of space to run into. I'd like to see either play, because I think that Kyogo will play against Aberdeen, and that's a game that's maybe more suited for him on the counter, getting in those positions. So either, regardless of who plays, Celtic are going to have a strong striker up front. So I'm not too concerned with who gets named in the starting lineup. I'm sure they'll score.
You can tell the manager's had a word with Ida, though, can't you? In terms of his first touch, because his last couple of games has been pretty on point, hasn't it? So you can tell that these are the things that you pick up on. Protect that football. You're a focal point. You have to, when you get that ball, it can't come back. You have to start making things happen. So I just think these are the wee kind of lessons that he's drumming into Ida. And, I love Ida. I just think he's going to be a player for Celtic, and he'll plunder a lot of goals. Might be a slow burn, but I'm still enjoying what he brings in the last couple of games, especially. Scored a cracking goal, lay off from Bernardo. Great finish, tidy finish, and then confidently stroked the penalty away. And then the other night, Ryan said that nuisance value. He has to accept that he has that too in his locker. He's not a battering ram or a target man per se, but he can be. And Brendan Ross has to say, listen, big man, you're a cracking footballer as well. But there are times when you use what you've got, your brute force and your strength, and do all these things. And I think that's you're seeing Ida's picking that up. Ida's listening to his manager, because he's starting to protect the football a lot better. When he started against Atalanta, his touch was a bit awry, wasn't it? So you can notice the marked difference from then to now, and I think that's where the manager comes in. Just those subtle things that he's saying to him. It's there in abundance. That talent's there, big man. You just need to also relax on it as well, and just and it'll come. Don't force it, and it'll come.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him play well tomorrow. Francis pointing out that we've been pretty poor in first halves recently. Certainly, I can think back to Bruges and Hearts and Kilmarnock. It has been a bit of a theme. So hopefully that improves tomorrow. Good chat, guys. Appreciate that. We are looking for subscribers onto the YouTube channel. If you're able to support the channel, the YouTube channel, that is, and it gets notified whenever we go live. You can tell I'm reading this out for the first time, guys, because I'm all over the place. But people can make up for that by just clicking the subscribe button. It's completely free and helps us to grow. If you wanted to support us in a different way, and a really important way for the channel, we come on YouTube, and it's obviously free here on YouTube, and it's completely free, but that's only possible because of the money people pay to subscribe to the website. And we've got a hell of an offer on right now, £12 for an entire year of Celtic analysis, opinions, news, interviews, much more in written form over on the website. £12 for a year, and you get this amazing, made by Frankie, Brendan Rodgers print as well as part of that. As the guys say, that'll be worth the £12 alone. But I'd say their coverage for an entire year for £12 is a pretty good deal as well. Okay, thanks everyone for all your support. It is appreciated by us all. You two will continue the videos throughout the weekend, I'm sure. I'll be off until Monday. So I'll catch up with you on Monday. The guys will be with you throughout the weekend. Catch you all soon.